My brother says the first siren comes, then 3 more, then 5. Then they don't stop. Every siren in Christchurch. 30 minutes, only sirens. A pause, then they resume, heading in a second direction. 2. I'm walking a hillside with Monterey Bay hazy and blue below. My arms hang at my sides, achy sticks. If I keep walking, I will, I think, be okay. Big Sur, Esalen homeland, is just a thin-tipped outline across the water. I found out last summer that Henry Miller, the Henry Miller, whose memorial library we embarked towards in summer, said the indigenous Eselens were slow-witted and not very smart. In a typical gesture of patriarchal benevolence, he praised their other qualities, as if that might redeem him. I do not understand why we do not talk about this more. Deborah H. Miranda writes poems in Esalen language, her language. Let's go make gossip in the sky, the translation reads. We will eat wind, we will not go back. 3. My friend Rayed Rifai thinks that white supremacy is the West reckoning with the end of itself, the end of the dream of manifest destiny. It was an anxious, fitful sleep. This is a rough morning. 4. Rayed and I talk about this after a white Australian gunman murders 49 people in 2 mosques in my homeland, New Zealand. It is difficult to break the name of this event over one another. We refer to it as what happened, that thing. The thing where a white man plans for 2 years to massacre members of the Muslim community during their moment of spiritual practice, peacefully worshipping. Then he live streams the killing. Then he uses social media to promote it. The West is waking from a fitful sleep, tangled in the sheets. A Christian-raised Kiwi and a Lebanese Muslim, friends in California. As we take in the information, shock making my tone a blankness, I say things like, I'm so sorry, please let me know if there's anything I can do. He says the same thing back to me, but his voice has more liveness. We experience this trauma from different angles, trying to examine how to comfort one another. My trauma has none of the threat of safety of his, yet I am all emotion. He is philosophical. It's okay, he says, I always feel like I could die at any time. I guess it's hardwired in my DNA that by its very nature the future is unpredictable and it is violent. He grew up during the war that he says took his parents' lives away, though they survived. 6. I only know the secret trauma of ancestors who inflicted violence, then covered it up and didn't speak of it, how it festers there in all of the colonizers. I only know the shock of sudden death from my childhood, how every trauma carries in it every other trauma. 7. The medium is important. Rayed and I exchange our thoughts as voice messages over WhatsApp because we live in different cities in the Bay. We talk about social media's role in the neo-Nazi movement and narcissism and the alienation it produces while we check the news on Twitter. 8. Guy Debord, in his aphoristic writing, saw that nature was one way out of this mess, the antidote to the spectacle, to the image that we celebrate, fueled by our position as consumers, spectacular violence. 9. I read the white man the piece I have written, and he is concerned that it is not factually accurate. 10. Processing grief from afar is one of the most disquieting parts of the migrant experience. No soil to sink down to. As I walk in my neighborhood, I feel that big skyward hole over me again, that slash of empty that will expand like a wet stain if I don't stop it. Suddenly, there on the side of the street is a New Zealand pahutakawa, our Christmas tree, red bristles in full bloom against dark green leaves. It's doing its thing, blooming at the same time as its southern hemisphere cousins. How or why there are pahutakawa all over the Bay Area remains a mystery to me. Its flowers link me to the other side of the Pacific, and they are red. The world always sustains the maximum suffering it can bear, writes Arion, and she's right in a way. On some elemental level, you could say that nothing is ever breaking. 11. Romain Rolland, in dialogue with Freud, called that feeling you get when you feel one with everything, oceanic feeling. This feeling, says Rolland, is the feeling that is underneath anything religious. It is in itself religious, even if the feeler believes nothing. 12. Riyadh sends me a video taken by an Arabic migrant in New Zealand and circulated through the Arab region. Social media can be used for coalition, cohesion, the other end of the spectrum from extremism. It's interesting how the power of the perpetrator to stream the attack live on Facebook, says Riyadh, is met with the power for the response to the attack to be so widely shared. A crowd gathers at Canterbury University in Christchurch. The camera pans and we see faces extended all the way to the edges of the square, a vast pink-faced student body, silent, solemn. Suddenly the call to prayer sounds over the crowd. As the imam's voice lilts and wavers, someone wipes tears. The feeling of sorrow is palpable. Watched in California via Lebanon from New Zealand, you can't help but feel implicated. 13. The not ancient Greeks have 6 words for love. I think of Christchurch, and it is several of these, a desire for several, a feeling so strong of their absence. When you name something you are lacking and its full body materializes before you, oh that, you think. The agape word is the one about humans loving God and God loving humans back. I want us to love and be loved by a female God, by many queer gods. I want us to love and be loved by the God of the forest, the God of the sky, the God of the wind, the God of the earth that Riyadh says you feel close to when you pray in a mosque on the ground.